mathematicians came to the aid of the physicians using calculus and statistics. So between calculus and statistics, doctors were able to test what was once untestable. So they were able to factor in more than one or two variables at a time and conduct their experiments, but they were done in controlled environments again. So that was a huge compromise that they had to make so that they can understand human biology better than our ancestors. So this was the time when the major disruption in medicine happened. I would say this was the only disruption that happened to medicine, shifting from art to science, what we call controlled experiments. Art involves getting as much information, taking into as many variables as possible into consideration, and coming up with a treatment plan based on intuition, based on reason, based on feeling, based on emotion. And that is the art of medicine. That was the type of medicine that was practiced for centuries. But when controlled experiments came out, that is no longer possible. Everything had to be measured. There had to be proof for every hypothesis. Either you prove or disprove the hypothesis. So there is no role for intuition, insight, revelation, feelings or emotions. Galileo famously said, measure what can be measured and make measurable what cannot be measured. So for instance, we see this in medicine when we are assessing pain in a patient, in an individual. See, pain is a subjective experience. How do you quantify this? You cannot really put a number to pain because it is a number 9 out of 10 would be different for each patient. So there is a subjective variability when it comes to pain. But then we made that which cannot be measured measurable by giving it a scale. For instance, a scale of 10 out of 10 pain is what puts you in the emergency department. It's excruciating pain, the worst pain of your life. And then you go down the level to a level where the pain is 0. So you get this scale of pain level, and you use these levels in your experimentation so that you have quantifiable, measurable data that can be experimented upon using statistics and calculus and come up with outcomes and results. And those statistical studies based on population studies will be applied to the individuals. That is how we arrived at population-based studies, and that is what using population studies not based on personalized studies, because that was not feasible to experiment on one individual. So we had to consider population studies. What we call randomized controlled studies became the gold standard, therefore. Every drug, every treatment has to go through the grind of these population studies, controlled experiments, randomized controlled studies, and used in the clinician's office or the hospitals. Now, these population studies are an impoverished version of what's actually happening within the human body. It's a very crude approximation of the reality because it is a population study and not an individual study.